like playing video games? Most likely you do. And if not, why are you watching this video? But the real question of today's video is, do you like playing video games with friends? Multiplayer has really been a thing since the days of the Nintendo 64, where you could have 4 controller ports. But as the world has advanced, people playing games together is now mostly done on the World Wide Web, where people can not only play games together, but communicate with each other in a voice chat while doing so. While PCs and other consoles like Xbox and even PlayStation have been doing this sort of thing for years, Nintendo has always been a bit behind when it comes to voice chat. They've been having trouble with online ever since the days of the Wii with the broken connection to Smash Bros. Brawl, and the days of using the Wii Speak. Remember that? While it has improved over the years, their closest thing to a voice chat was on the Wii U, their most failed console next to the Virtual Boy, having a Skype-like chat feature called Wii U Chat. It was fine, but you couldn't play games while doing it, so
But that all changed with the Nintendo Switch 2 and their latest feature, Game Chat.
Game Chat is where you chat in-game. Just in case you weren't sure. It makes it so that not only are you able to voice chat with your friends, but also play games and even share gameplay with them as well. It's great to see Nintendo finally doing something like this, but it may be a little late to the party, as other third-party apps like Discord have been doing this for years. But better late than never? It all depends on how Game Chat is as a service. And while it is free to use for Nintendo Switch 2 users at the time of this video, this is only temporary, as you will need to pay for Nintendo Switch Online to use it in March of 2026. And while we've covered the value of Switch Online in the past, I wanted to take a look at Nintendo Switch 2 Game Chat and see if it's worth it.
So, is Nintendo Switch 2 Game Chat the way of the future, or should Nintendo have stayed silent with their gaming titles? Let's find out.
First off, how do you get to Game Chat? Well, on your Switch 2 home menu, there is a C button, where you click it, and it takes you there. You have to do some initial setup, including putting your phone number in, which is interesting and not at all concerning in the slightest.
Hello? Look, Nintendo, I promised I wouldn't mod my console. Why won't you believe me?
But other than that, it takes you right to the Game Chat menu. You can also access it with a button on your controller, either your Joy-Cons or the Pro controller. You can start a room and invite people in, or you can be invited in yourself. And then the chatting commences.
So now let's talk about the quality of Game Chat. One of the first things that worried me about the service was whether or not you would be able to be heard, as a lot of built-in microphones these days tend to sound like this. But I gotta say, it actually surprised me.
I know the console is close to $500, but I still expected a microphone that sounded like a potato. Even for the highest end of PCs, microphones have never been a priority, and often you'll need a headset that even then makes you sound like 2 tin cans grinding together. But for Nintendo Switch 2, I will admit, the microphone sounds much better than I expected. You don't need a third-party microphone or even a headset, and the microphone that's embedded into the system itself sounds pretty good. Like when trying it with friends, they could hear me just fine, and I could hear them. This is possible with the hardware they added into the chip, and according to Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, didn't think I'd have to use that as a reference, there is a special chip and hardware that make it so the quality of the microphone not only rings clearly, but also has it where you cannot hear yourself through feedback, and provide noise cancellation to background noise around you. Which, by the way, that works mostly fine too. I tested it and no noise really interfered. I didn't use a blender or anything like in the trailer, but for everyday use, it works more than well enough. Now, is it as good quality as a microphone that you would hear from me or other YouTubers or professional quality? Of course that's going to be better. And for people who are really into audio recordings, it's going to be noticeable. But for the average player who doesn't really care too much about audio quality and wants something that just works, the Nintendo Switch 2 Game Chat does the job and does it well. It provides a great casual experience so you can just play with friends and talk to your friends and drive around Rainbow Road hitting people with blue shells. with your friends.
Alright, that's the audio quality. How about the game streaming itself? Well, when you play your game, it plays just fine. When you watch your friends' games, though...
Your gameplay footage runs decently, and there is not any noticeable lag when you run game chat, which makes sense. If you can't add a microphone to your game, then something's really wrong here. However, other players are able to share their game screens, and you are able to look at them anytime you wish. And the quality for that can be quite the downgrade. The frame rate for the preview windows is noticeably choppy and laggy when trying to watch your friend's gameplay, both when you specifically select it and especially the bottom preview screen. Good God, that bottom screen can have the frame rate of a slideshow. It's not that big of a deal, as you will most likely be playing the game instead of watching other people play, but it seems silly that the Nintendo Switch 2, a very expensive console, is having trouble streaming your friend's gameplay. And that's just one friend. If you add any more, the lag increases, which is disheartening.
And what really makes this sting is the fact that apps like Discord have been around for years and are able to perform better and stream better quality.
Now, a lot of this is because of PCs and being able to run the playback and all that technical stuff. But even so, it's still an alternative and has been for years, and it's hard to overlook. I stream myself playing games on Discords with my friend group with no issues whatsoever. And even on my Switch 2, it's more tempting to use Discord than it is to get game chat running. Maybe that will change after a few firmware updates or a few new added features, but who knows? It does help that a lot of games are incorporating game chat into their gameplay, whether it just be playing with friends in Mario Kart or using one copy of the game to play with multiple people, like Split Fiction or even Donkey Kong Bonanza.
But it's not just audio changes, as the Nintendo Switch 2 has a camera so you can see your friends on game chat for an additional $50.
It sucks that if you want to have your camera, you gotta spend more. But I'd rather it be an optional purchase than it be included in the console, making the system even more expensive. There's also features like a privacy shutter, so if you want to turn off your camera for certain purposes, you can be just sliding the lens cover. That's a cool thing and all, but if you aren't going to use the camera, why get the camera in the first place?
And as for camera footage itself, it's pretty okay. Standard 1080p footage, nothing too crazy, but nothing terrible. It gets the job done. But the secret to a better quality camera, like most cameras, doesn't have to do with the quality itself. It has to do with the lighting.
Especially if you want to achieve the green screen effect, where you blend in the game. If you have good lighting, it's going to look fine. If you don't, oh sweet God, what is happening to me? Some of this looks absurdly bad, and for people with low lighting areas, it can really suck. But I'm really glad it's optional. You do not need the camera in order to enjoy game chat, which is really nice. They really could have made it where you needed the $50 to enjoy it. And the really cool thing is, and I don't see Nintendo advertising this that much, is that you don't have to use the $50 Nintendo camera. You can actually use most cameras as long as it connects to a USB, which I will admit is pretty cool. You can even find a list of comparable cameras that you can use, so maybe your webcam will work for it just as easily. There's even a piranha plant camera. That's cool. If it didn't have lower quality.
There are also some features that don't get advertised much, but do little things that help out with the customization.
You can customize the layout of game chat. The classic layout where it shows your gameplay and the others on the bottom. You can expand your main screen, or you can just do a full screen and get rid of the screens on the bottom. So normal. Honestly, I prefer this one because it makes footage gathering easier. And you can even turn off the tiny overlay that shows who is talking. Again, works very well for me with recording. You can customize how your camera looks, turning on and off that green screen filter, or adding a border around your camera, or not. And finally, the most surprising thing is the captions, where if you turn them on, they actually take what you say and transcribe it. And it's really accurate. I thought it was going to be terrible, but it really surprised me with how accurately it was with putting words I said on screen. And yes, it does put in and does not filter if you say bad words.
Sony. Yeah, game chat, I said a naughty word. What are you gonna do about... Hello? Look, Mr. Nintendo, it was a joke, I swear.
For real, I'm glad they did this and made things more accessible. Nintendo, as good as their games are, isn't the most accessible company when it comes to features. And I know even some modern platforms don't have captions, or working ones. So I'm going to give credit where credit is due, and say Nintendo made a good call with the captions.
So that is Nintendo Switch 2 Game Chat, and it's far from perfect, but it gets the job done. And it gets the job done a lot better than I thought it would.
I don't think it's going to be the app that takes the world by storm and makes the Nintendo Switch 2 worth buying. People are buying this console for the games, and maybe the increase in visuals. But for a game chat made by a company that is notoriously behind in the technological times, it really did surprise me how much game chat just works. The voice quality works for any casual player, and there is enough customization aspects and features to make it worth getting into. Sure, it has some issues, like watching other people's games can be a bit wonky, and the camera is not the greatest, but the camera being completely optional, and the fact that, hopefully, we will get some updates to fix things, will make the game chat experience better. That being said, I understand if people will not use game chat, and decide to just stick to Discord, or if they decide to not chat at all. Nintendo is really pushing for a more sociable experience with this console. It's why they focused on game chat. It's why Mario Kart World was their launch title. And while it's not for everyone, I'm glad the option for game chat is there, for people who don't use Discord or just want something simpler and integrated to the system. Options are always good, and in a way, to me, this shows that Nintendo is going in the right step with prioritizing their online. It's still behind in the times, but it's getting there, and that's the important thing. Regardless, game chat has been a pleasurable experience, and while I don't see everyone using it, I do see people who do decide to try making the most of it and getting their money's worth. Game chat for Nintendo Switch 2 is sure to be worth talking about.
I told them game chat was good. What more do they want? Hello? I will game chat with whatever camera I want to. I'm a grown man. I can make my own decisions. You know what? I think Mario Kart is too expensive. I said what I said! Sorry, that was my grandma.
Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, and check out my other videos too. Special thanks to all the people who helped me out with the video. I couldn't have done it without all of you. Also an extra special thanks to my Patreon patrons, including Mantelferox, Blu-ray Joe 3, and Savacom. If you'd like to join the Patreon, the link is in the description below, along with my Blue Sky, Twitch, and Instagram. Thank you so much, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good night.